Okay, so a little bit of a background in African Parks. We were founded in the year 2000, and we're a pioneer in the public-private partnership model, and we take on the long-term responsibility in partnership with government and communities for the management of protected areas in Africa. We currently have a footprint in 11 countries of 18 parks, and we manage over 11 million hectares. Our model is based on three core principles. We search for a long-term mandate, hopefully 20 years or longer. We need to put in place sustainable funding models, and we also need to establish clear legal entities and establish a board for the management of each park. We base our approach to conservation on 5 key pillars. These are very important to us. One of our key pillars is law enforcement. We have biodiversity conservation as the second one. There's community development, and there's also enterprise development as well as management and infrastructure. These 5 key principles really define how we do our job, and we really need to excel at all of these to ensure that a park is sustainable into the future. And again, that means working with the government and the communities in all of these different pillars to ensure the success of the project. As we see the footprint that humans have on the planet increase slowly but surely, there's some key things that that all sort of species and organisms need to survive, and one of them is food security, and the other one is water. And these are really key things that these reserves in these protected areas that stay wild and have functional ecosystems. Conserving those catchment areas are very important because thousands and thousands of miles, and sometimes many countries downstream, that's the source of where all the livelihoods of all these people downstream come from. So we need to make sure that we secure and protect these massive catchments for water, areas where for example, let's say all these insects that breed that then go and fertilize the crops that we use. All the sort of ecosystem services that are available in these wild areas, they need to be conserved for not only their benefit but also for the benefit of humans. Because without a living, breathing sort of world of connected wild spaces, we won't be able to be here. So it's very important that we conserve and keep the lifelines of this planet going. Technology brings people together. It allows people to communicate in remote places where this was not possible in the past. And there's some very good examples of how this is really allowing us to engage with communities. We have a community radio station in the DRC where people can phone in via this mobile telephone networks. It helps us to interact with the local community where there was historically no real method of communication. We have beekeeping in Malawi and projects to really manage and bring value to the honey chain by grouping people together in geographical regions, and that requires technology and again requires people to communicate. And there are some really successful projects in Akagera. There's some fantastic fishing projects going on there, as well as the ability to integrate mobile money into, revenue streams related to and around the park.
The community fishing project in Akagera National Park at the moment, they are fishing inside the park with their own corporation. So they've formed a cooperative to fish inside the park. But the only way they can do that is if we can do it sustainably. Otherwise, the whole fish stock is going to be gone again very soon. So basically, the LoRa system enables us to put a tracker on their boat, so we know exactly where they are fishing every night. And the other thing we're doing is through applications is actually gathering the data early in the morning when they get back from fishing at night. What did they catch? How many kilos of which type of fish? And all of that goes into our system where the managers can now see, almost real time, what is being caught, where is it caught, is it time to move to a new area in the lake, or is it time to move to a different lake? All of these things are very much reliant on the technology.
And I think just extending on that, the mobile money thing, we are looking to move to almost a cashless project or cashless reserve, where transactions are all handled either via mobile money or via other forms of electronic payment. And through enabling these systems, it really allows us to work with the market and with the local sort of sellers of various different sort of, I guess, tourism memorabilia and merchandise. It allows a quick flowing of money and a quick change of value in places where historically it would have been more difficult if you're relying on cash. So I think one of our key principles in terms of when we need to manage a project is that we need to understand the domain in which we work. That is really, we need to be able to give a picture to the people on the project in terms of where our assets are, be them human or wildlife, as well as understanding if there are any threats in the landscapes, where those threats would be coming from, and really build a picture for the managers of these projects. We work quite closely with Vulcan's Earth Ranger project, and that provides us with our situational awareness platform that allows us to visualize all these different sensors as tracking devices and other bits of information such as remotely sensed fires, deforestation. All those different bits of information get brought into one platform. And part of the technological challenge for us is to ensure that we can track as many assets as reliably as possible. And that includes key species such as rhino and elephant. And over time, we're slowly adding more technologies to our suite. There's a different technology that allows us to track a plane versus to track an elephant versus to track a vehicle, all the way down to tracking of hyena or other predators such as lion. And we need to make sure that we have the various networks as well as sensors in place to be able to build up that picture so someone can have the best information possible to manage the project. And yeah, we look at technology as an enabling force, and it's basically a tool for us to manage our parks more effectively and more efficiently. And we need to make sure that we allow technology to do that. And it is a challenge in places, but I think we are slowly but surely achieving our goal of ensuring that technology aids a manager and doesn't hold them back.
First of all, I think what makes the park unique in the region is the fact that it's the biggest protected wetland in Central Africa. And with that, we're protecting a huge amount of fresh water, which is obviously incredibly important for everyone downstream. Other than that, it's the last area for animals in Rwanda that live in a savanna habitat. From the technology side of things, Akagera was the first park where the Smart Parks solution was installed on a park-wide scale. So Smart Parks is an organization from the Netherlands that worked with LoRa systems to create a network in the park where you can connect sensors to. And basically those sensors will then talk to those towers and to our systems so that we can track animals, cars, people, helicopters, all of those things. I am very happy to say that Rwanda or Akagera is not as unique anymore in terms of technology, because we are spreading out that technology throughout a lot of the other parks in our portfolio, but we're also seeing these technologies being implemented in a lot of other conservation areas throughout Africa actually, which is an amazing thing.
From a connectivity perspective, it really is a lifeline to a lot of these remote places. And we see in Akagera how now we have full 3G and soon to be 4G coverage across the whole park. This brings massive benefit to the communities, to the park, our ability to communicate. Being able to track rangers using a cell phone is a very cheap and effective solution. It really brings us to another level in which we can support remotely.
I manage Wi-Fi point-to-point network. This technology allows us to locate animals in real time and position our rangers against any threat before an incident can take place. Let me take this opportunity to invite you all to come visit Akagera National Park, have the chance to see Rwandan beautiful views, and have a chance to see animals in the bush.
First of all, just a structure like a tower is incredibly helpful. In Akagera, we got 4 new towers, 50-meter towers in the park, and a very good example of how fast things can change. I think when you build a cell phone network, is the Cyber Tracker application that Akagera is using, where I personally used to go in my car and drive around the whole park every month on a certain day to get the data from the actual phones through a USB cable, because there was no way to get the data to my computer. And as much as I love driving through the park, because that was one of the most awesome things to do, it was awesome that as soon as the network was up and running and we got SIM cards into those phones, the rangers now just press a button. As soon as they get back from their patrol in the post, the data gets sent to our server into the control room. People download it every day in the afternoon. So by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we know exactly what our rangers have seen. If they saw the herd of elephants, how that herd of elephants is doing. If they saw some snares, so we can send out other teams. And in the past, if it wasn't communicated through the radio, we would only know after 1 month. And that's a huge gap. By now, we know on a daily basis. And that makes a huge difference.
It really is about bringing connectivity to these areas, and where we can enable more solutions that are traditionally bandwidth heavy, that are, that the normal business world sort of considers to be a standard part of everyday practice. For example, us talking on this voice call is not always available to us in parks, and we can then really work towards bringing a project up to a level that it'll attract ecotourism, and then in ecotourism comes revenue, and then from revenue comes the ability to to put it back into the project, to then build up, it almost the project sustains itself as you slowly start succeeding. And I think that what makes our job so beautiful, especially from a personal perspective, is that if you give nature half a chance, nature does all the work for you. Akagera is a great story of where there was very little left, and now as you drive in the gate of the park, you can just see a thriving sort of ecosystem with animals left, right, and center. We can really get this right. We can bring them back, and we can slowly establish these functioning ecosystems.